Like cooking, everything has a recipe.
A set of instructions to follow in order to gain a certain result.
Music is no different.
Be it ingredients for a dish, a set list for an amazing show,
Or a release strategy for a successful launch.
these are all recipes.
Hi, we're your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brandon.
Come and join us in our kitchen as we go through the Music Maker's Cookbook.
Let's get cooking.
Welcome to the Music Maker's Cookbook, the podcast that helps independent artists cook up recipes for success in the music industry. I'm Sean.
I'm Brandon.
Oh boy, you had a busy week?
It's been busy and it's been hot.
It has been very hot.
Yeah, kind of sucks outside.
Yeah, I mean, we're recording this right around mid-June, and I think it was 97 on Monday,
Yeah,
which is
brutal.
very hot for this time of year.
Yeah, and very unlike Michigan weather. You know, we get hot, but we don't get that hot.
Not that hot this early. Usually,
Yeah.
mid-July.
Maybe July. Yeah, we'll see some days creep up like this, but it's been brutal, and the humidity's been really bad too. So it's made me very happy that I'm a studio rat and
Yeah.
just sit in the studio all day.
Yeah, I've been working outdoor live shows 2, 3, 4 times a week, so
Yeah.
I've definitely developed my farmer's tan.
Hell yeah.
That's for sure.
Yep.
So
Michigan staple right there. Good old Midwest tan right there.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, we were up north on Saturday, and my face got a little burnt, a little pink, but then it tanned the next morning. I tan really well for
Same.
some reason. It's not in my genetics either. So.
No, it's not.
No, so
It's
I
in my
got the
family's
necessity-
genetics.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no part of me
Mhm.
that is would be good for tanning. No makeup of me. So, yeah, so I get pretty lucky.
That is
So
very lucky.
I don't burn very much. So.
Same here. Yeah, as long as I'm moving, if I just stand in the sun.
Oh, for sure, and cook yourself.
Obviously you
Yeah.
burn.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of what I do is either when I do a lot of running, that helps me tan.
Mhm.
But then when I'm working outdoors, I'm either underneath tents or moving back and forth, setting a PA or the front of
Totally.
house position or whatnot. So luckily I'm mostly covered. But
Yeah.
I got to be extra careful this year with heat stroke and all that.
Absolutely.
Bring plenty of
Yeah,
water.
yeah.
So
Stay safe, brother.
stay safe out there.
Yes, please. Yeah,
Mhm.
because I know Michigan's not the only one getting smacked by it. I was talking to my buddy Dan. He's down in Nashville, and
Mhm.
he was like, it feels like it's 110 down here or something. I was like, that is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Which, speaking of all that, if you are a performer in a hotter climate, I'm sure you know this, if you have been performing live shows, to bring a fan. If you're new to this, add a fan to your kit that you bring to gigs if you're performing outdoors, like outdoor festivals, whatnot. Just that small extra thing could really save your life,
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
but at
honestly.
least make it bearable when you're performing. So, just, kind of a way to throw the weather introduction section of this
Yeah.
podcast episode
We should
into a quick tip.
We should almost do a weather, topic, if you're playing live. And it'd be cool to have someone from that was ever on Van's Warped Tour or something come on, because they could definitely speak to the heat, because
Oh, yeah.
that whole festival was hot every single time I went, at least.
Mhm.
So I know everybody else was cooking too. That'd be kind of a weird and interesting episode to kind of get perspective on how you survive that kind of thing. So
Oh, yeah.
maybe we'll put that in the backlog, for an idea.
We've had some bands contact us this week for the upcoming shows asking if we were going to cancel any
Yeah.
of the shows going on. And luckily, all the venues that we do stuff in, there's some sort of coverage, so the bands are going to be in shade.
That's good.
But if you're not going to be in shade, definitely ask that beforehand. Get some sort of headwear to
Yeah.
cover, shade yourself while you're performing to help keep you cool. Bring plenty of waters.
Lots
We
of
always
water.
provide a bunch of waters for the bands and for the crew
Yep.
and whatnot, but just some basic questions to ask about and how to deal with certain types of weather. So yeah, that's a good topic.
It's an interesting topic because
About the small talk episode.
Right, yeah. Because you work outside a lot. When I was doing radio stuff, I worked outside a lot too, because we were going to these venues and stuff. It was all during the summer. They actually would not provide us with water.
Really?
Yeah, so I actually ended up bringing water for my crew, whatever I worked with them. Yeah, I'd bring a case of water because everybody was always so dehydrated.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, someone's gonna die.
Yeah.
I need to bring water. I need to be the one to bring water. So I was the one that brought water, and everyone was like, dude, thank you. I was like, yeah, of course. So I always had to keep the water plentiful and ready to go. It was those days at Pine Knob, standing out in the sun right out front.
Oh, brutal.
Brutal, dude.
Brutal.
So yeah, fun times. So stay safe.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
So Brandon, you know what this conversation that we just had was?
What would you consider it?
I would consider it not urgent, but very important.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost kind of urgent though at this point because we're living in it right now. But
Urgent
maybe
for us, maybe
yeah,
not so for
right,
the
yeah.
viewers. Because what's urgent and important is the topic of this episode, which is the time management matrix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you don't mind me jumping into a real quick
Please.
introduction of this.
Let it go.
The time management matrix is a time management organization method. My research coined by Eisenhower and promoted by Stephen R. Covey in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Those are the 2 main sources where you can find the diagrams or learn more about what they are if you want to dive in further after this episode. But for this episode, if you look into the description of this podcast episode, or if you see us on YouTube or whatever, you can click on a link. There will take you to my website where you can download 2 different PDFs. One is a filled out template that gives you examples of all the things that fall under these categories, and the other one is a blank template for you to fill in yourself as you go along with this episode to fill in the information that falls into these categories and how it pertains to you and your music career. So I highly recommend, before continuing through this, just put it on pause, download these resources, and fill it out as you follow along with us.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're listening to this in
Great
the car,
resource.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this in the car, just save it, come back, and it's definitely worthwhile doing this process for your career and for your music. So what is the 4 quadrants time management thing?
Yeah. So basically, as a whole, the time management matrix that helps you organize your time according to importance and urgency. So those are the kind of the 2 criteria that you're basing this off of. And you can't see this right now on the podcast, obviously, but if you go download the resource that Sean was talking about, you can kind of see how it's outlined. There's 4 quadrants, right? And we're just going to go first, second, third, fourth. I know quadrants are technically reversed, and we're not going to do that in math. We're going to keep it stupid simple. Basically, it's just a simple framework that helps you evaluate your time and how you spend your time, and maybe help how you defend your time at some points, because that is really key too, because there are some things in here that are definite time wasters for sure. This will help you stay overall more productive and manage your time better. I mean, that's what it's there for. That's literally in the name. So
I try to fill this out quarterly, or at least every other, like semi-yearly, so like every 6 months at least, but I try to do quarterly, because what this does is when you put in all the tasks that you are currently doing onto it, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can put in all the stuff you want to tackle and then organize the importance and prioritize every single thing, like what needs to be done first, what needs to be done second. But another thing you can do, which is what I do quarterly, is put in what I am currently doing and see where it all falls. And being truly honest with, okay, I've been doing this. Is it important? Is it not important? Is it urgent or is it not urgent? And realizing like, oh, wait, this thing I've been doing for the past quarter is actually not important and it's not urgent. So it's just been wasting time.
Yeah.
It allows me to look at it and usually lay it all out. Everything I'm doing, just lay it all out and see, have I been productive or have I been wasting things? What can I cut out? What do I need to focus more on and how it goes through?
Yeah.
So that's what I recommend doing. We're going to be talking about, assuming this is your first time filling out this sort of diagram. So we're going to go under the assumption of you are looking at it and you are going to be planning the tasks that you need to do to build a career in the music industry. But as I said, fill it out once for that, but then also fill it out for the things that you are currently doing so you can see the things that you maybe need to stop.
That's great. Yeah, it requires a high degree of consciousness on what you're doing too, and honesty. So you have to be honest with yourself here, and you can't be too lax with it either. You kind of have to hold yourself to some kind of standard and some kind of threshold that is like, yes, this is a definite time waster, and don't try to justify a time waster as being productive, because that can be a definite bias and drawback to this whole exercise in the first place. So let's describe the 4 quadrants real quick.
Let's
go through first, second, third, fourth, which will basically be from left to right sequentially.
Left.
Top left, and then to the top right, then bottom left, bottom right. So first one is the biggest one, probably the one that is like screaming alarm bells, is urgent. It's urgent and important.
Yes.
Things that go into this are like crises, emergencies, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects, and last-minute preparations. This is like, this needs to get done right now, because it could either be a matter of life and death, the matter of a career, you name it. It's very important. You must get it done.
So like quick examples, like resolving conflicts in the band. If something pops up, oh, the bass player broke his leg, so now he can't come to the concert tomorrow. That's
Classic
an urgent
bass player.
Exactly. That's something that needs to be handled immediately, and it's very urgent. So it falls into that quadrant of being important and immediate. Like another example is like responding to booking inquiries. You want to tackle that as soon as possible so that it shows the venue that, hey, we're interested. We want to be involved in this. It's really important to stay on top of that.
Yep.
Other things like
band breaks down on your way to the show. That's
Yeah,
very important.
very
Urgent.
important, very
Yes.
urgent.
Yes, absolutely.
Preparing your merchandise for a major event, making sure like you bring the merchandise, all that. So those are some examples of urgent and important.
Yeah, perfect. Next one is going to the right. This is top right of the quadrant 2. Not urgent, but important. This involves preparation, planning, prevention, values clarification, capability improvement, relationship building, and true recreation and relaxation.
So this is the quadrant that I think is honestly the most important, but also the most neglected, because you are so occupied by the urgent things like the phone ringing or the notification popping up on your phone.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Where you're like, I need to put all these fires, you need to do this first, do that first. But really, it's the stuff that's not urgent that can really set you up
That
for
is so true.
huge success further down the line.
That is so true.
I mean, things like writing and composing new songs fall into the not urgent, but important.
Yep.
Also, like building and maintaining your professional website, keeping up to date with it may not be urgent, but it is very, very important. And if you are able to do these things, it will increase your career moving down the line. Also, like planning future tours, gigs. These are all things that you may think, oh, I'll do that tomorrow, I'll tackle down the line. But it's important that you are aware of them and you schedule them in your calendar so that way they don't become someday, they become, okay, this day I tackle these things and set me up moving forward.
Yep. Totally agree. And you know, these are the things that can also easily fall by the wayside. I mean, this includes your health, because that's very important. Relationship building, like if you haven't called a buddy in another band in a really long time, you should probably do that just out of shits and giggles, or a certain venue owner, or even your own family, right? That's probably a good thing to do. These are the things that generally fall by the wayside when we're caught up trying to put out the fires of the first quadrant, or maybe we're caught up with the last quadrant where nothing's important or nothing's urgent.
Well, don't get too ahead of yourself.
I know, but I want to describe, like this is the one that probably goes overlooked the most.
Yes.
Because we're so tied up in other areas that we define under these quadrants, right? So this one's definitely important. I definitely agree with that statement. This one's probably the most important one.
And it is
lack of a better way to say it, I guess, using important and important, so yeah.
But it's also, like I said, weirdly enough, it's one of the most neglected, even though it's important stuff. As we go in throughout the rest of the quadrants, we'll further develop this. But because it's important stuff, it's still stuff that feels like work.
Right.
But because you don't need to do it now, it's the first thing you put off.
Yeah.
And then other stuff is easier to slot in because it's not important, doesn't feel like work. So you'll dive into it. Which, speaking of things that aren't work and might be urgent, that's the third quadrant.
Yeah, third quadrant. What do we define as that? This is the bottom left, if you're following along at home. We define this as an urgent, not important. This includes interruptions, some callers, some emails, some mail, some meetings, many pressing matters, and popular activities. Now, you might have heard some callers, some mail, some meetings. There are urgent meetings that are important. There are meetings that are not urgent and not important. So you have to be able to decide between those two things, right? Exactly. So that's why it's specified as some. The other sum of this half right here can fall under multiple different quadrants within this matrix itself. So that's why I wanted to define that real quick, because if you heard some, that sounds wishy-washy, but it's true. Sometimes that person that's calling you, you don't really need to talk to them at this current moment. You could talk to them at a different time.
Yeah, like for example, if you're putting together a tour or whatnot, and you put an ad out there or whatever for bands to hit you up, like in the scene to put together a show. If you're a folk artist and you are getting messages, got two messages, one's from another folk artist and the other one is from a metal artist. The metal artist, it's good to be involved in your scene, maybe get back to them, but it's not important.
Right.
But it may feel like urgent because boom, you got the notification, ding, it's in your inbox, boom, it's right in front of you. You're like, oh, I got to respond to them. Maybe not, because the folk artists, they're the ones that are going to be a better fit for you on your ticket. They're the one you need to respond to. So things that are urgent but not important, as you mentioned, like answering non-critical emails, managing minor updates on your website. I know it's an easy thing where you might think, oh, I'm making all these changes, I'm on top of it. As you mentioned, in the last quadrant, that's important but also not urgent, is maintaining your website. Maintaining your website and constantly making small changes are completely different things.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're constantly tweaking the font, moving this picture around, re-editing this, changing the bio, like every other day, it may feel like, oh, I'm doing stuff, I'm on top of it.
Yep.
You're just creating busy work for yourself.
Exactly.
That's a thing that falls into this category because you feel like it's urgent, but it's really not.
Yep.
Also, things like participating in online forums or groups. You may feel like, oh, but these are my people. This helps me network and whatnot. Some forums,
like
maybe some forums
Yeah.
pop in once a week. It's not as important as it may feel like, even though you're constantly getting notifications and dings. And I feel like a lot of the small things fall under this category. And a quick way I like to think of it is, are you getting a notification for it? Because if your phone is ringing or you're getting dings on your phone or things popping up in your email or all of a sudden things are getting thrown in front of you, like calls from other bands or venues or whatnot, that's this quadrant is really other people trying to put things on you.
Right.
Not things that you have to do that you're putting on yourself. That's really quadrant 1. That's important and immediate. Whereas this is other people are throwing it on you and it may or may not serve you. So it may seem urgent because boom, they're throwing it, but it doesn't really serve you. So that's why we say it's not important.
Yeah. Great point. I think at this point, if you've kind of been catching the drift, is that you have to have some kind of value assigned to these tasks, right? Before you can even evaluate what quadrant they might fall into. And this is like Sean said, this is why Sean evaluates every quarter, right? How we talked about, because these things change over time. These are very fluid matters of importance and urgency, right? Because what might matter today might not matter tomorrow, but what matters tomorrow might not matter today, right? It all depends on where you're at, what you're doing, what kind of season you're in. You can go back and listen to our episode on seasons.
Episode 21 or 22 is for
somewhere
seasons.
right around there. Yep.
You can also check out episode 6 on SMART goals. And kind of plan out your roadmap for the future, and then use that as a guide when doing this time management matrix to see, okay, if it doesn't align with my goals for the future, then it would fall under the not important category.
Absolutely. So yeah, there's definitely some kind of value assigned to these, and that is up to you to decide that, and honestly, truthfully decide that as well. But I think I'm good with that quadrant. You want to move on to the next quadrant?
Yeah. What's the next quadrant, Brandon?
The last.
Actually, if you've been following along,
surely
I'm
the
sure
least.
you can guess.
Yes. If you guessed this, you don't win anything. But I mean, but good on you. Let us know in the comments if you guessed it correctly. Last and certainly the least. I know a lot of people say, but not the least. This one is the least.
This one's the least.
This one's the least. Is the not urgent, not important one. This is the bottom right quadrant. If you've been following along at home, number 4. This one contains busy work, trivial activities, some calls and emails. There it is again. Escape activities and time wasters. Probably the last one being the biggest.
Oh yeah, time wasters.
Time wasters.
Yeah.
And that can just be defined as anything. Sean, you go take it first though.
Oof. Well, there's so many things that we do all the time that fall into this category, but real quick, I'll talk about it at the end. So a lot of things that we constantly do that fall into this category, things like browsing social media aimlessly, playing video games. There's a caveat to some of these, spending excessive time on personal hobbies, excessive being the key word, watching TV shows or movie, procrastinating on tasks, over organizing or excessively tidying. That's a big one.
Yes,
if you are
it is.
overly, like, you keep redoing your
It's probably one of the most
inventory.
dangerous ones.
Yeah, like you keep going over your inventory, keep changing things in the set list, keep overly obsessing things beyond the point where you're not making any improvements. That's a huge time waster.
Yeah, because you get a false positive that you're being productive, right? And that's not the case. You're just literally wasting time. Yeah, but it makes you feel better because you're like, oh, I'm doing something. That's not the case. It's not actually helping out anything. You're just wasting a bunch of time. Yep.
Some of the things in this quadrant where we've listed it as not important and not urgent, like I throw out video games as an example of it. This one gets a little gray because while it's not urgent and definitely not important for building a music career, it can be important for maintaining your mental health.
Yes.
So a lot of these things really fall into this category when it becomes an excessive amount.
Yes, absolutely. Great point. Great point. Because that is true.
Yeah. If you spend an hour, a day reading because it helps relax you and put you back in space after you've doing your work, and then after you finish your job and before you go to rehearsal, and it gets you in the right mindset to being productive, then that's great. That's not an unimportant thing. But if you are delaying things, not working on your music, not going to the studio because you're caught up watching a show or you want to jump on something or scroll social media, like if you post something on social media and then spend an hour scrolling through afterwards, the excessive part is when it becomes not important and a waste of time.
Yep. Great point. I mean, for example, I play like a game every night. For 1 hour. Usually it's like right around 1 hour. My squad's really good at being like, okay, we're all getting off at this time. You know what we're saying? Like, we're very organized. What'd you
Are you
say?
still doing Helldivers? That was what you
No,
were
I
playing,
wasn't
right?
playing Helldivers.
what
No,
were you
I was
playing
playing
then?
X Defiant.
Oh,
X
gotcha.
Defiant. Yeah. Then that's what I'm playing right now. We played Halo last night, but we're X Defiant tonight probably. We get on for like 8 to 9, and we're done.
We still gotta have a classic Halo night.
Yeah, I know we do.
I need to
I
get
know
Kevin
we're
over.
really do. We
Yeah.
really do.
I'm able to put my old TV down in the basement, and I'll have you
yeah.
and Kevin over, and we'll
Dude, we have to. Halo 3.
have a Halo night. I have 1, 2, and 3, so we can go as old school as you want,
Ooh.
or we can do Halo 3, whichever you
That
want
might
to
be
do,
pretty
man.
sick. That might be pretty sick. Yeah.
I have a Duke. I have a Duke controller that's like customized, so they replaced the Xbox logo with Hello Kitty, and the whole thing is
Oh,
like powder
nice.
baby blue.
That's fucking awesome.
I love that controller.
That's
And
killer,
it's a Duke
dude.
controller, so it's like a bulky
Yeah,
ass
it's like the
controller
big
with baby
guy.
blue.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I can't wait for that. Maybe we'll live stream it. No, I'm just kidding.
There's excessive talking about this
Right,
topic
now
is
we're wasting time.
probably not important and not urgent. Oh,
Good
man.
example.
Your example was very important. Mine not so much, but
No, well, it just goes to show how easily sometimes we can kind of slip into these things, right?
Really,
and like it just happens naturally at this point, right? And it's about how you kind of like get back to being on track, right? Like Sean said, this is also a really important, quadrant for your mental health, and like I can go both sides. Like if you spend too much time doing this, you get into some kind of rut, and it's hard to get out of that rut. But if you don't do this enough, you also get into the rut of I'm working endlessly and I no longer enjoy anything outside of what I'm doing, right? There's a very fine balance to each one of these, but this one especially too.
yeah. Which is why it might be helpful for you to fill out 2 of these quadrants, one for your music career and then also one for your personal life. And don't be surprised if some things that appear in the non-important, non-immediate category on one list, being like for your music career, end up being more important or fill up a different category on your personal life. Because as you mentioned, like the hour a day playing video games really helps deal with stress and help you calm down at the end of the day and take your mind off of work so you're not overly analyzing, overly obsessing it. There's so much benefit to that. Like taking a walk, hanging out with your significant other, or with the kids or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, these are very important things.
Very important
The music
things.
career is really important, and we want you to make a living doing what you love, which is the whole point of this podcast. We don't want you to neglect other things that are very fulfilling in life if they matter to you. So this is a very great and easy way to lay it all out and then see what works.
And we're not here to sit here and get clicks on social media where we tell you don't enjoy anything. Like these are your guidelines that you are setting for yourself, right? So like whatever we say, you have to make work for yourself, right? Because if video games are important to you, then you need to work that in somehow. You really do. You really do need to work that in somehow. That is productive, relaxing, but also controlled, right?
Like if you're a musician who does instrumental covers of video game music,
right? I mean, that's even cooler.
then boom,
That's even
playing
cooler.
video games is incredibly important. So you can then find the songs that are important to you and then have that motivation and that connection to then go and mix them.
That's a good example because I actually took a video game class when I was doing my undergrad, and it was a video game music class, and I learned so much about video game music, but I also enjoyed the class because I'm a mainstream gamer, right? Like I'm not like super deep into it, but like I will game,
I'm very deep into it.
I know. That's why I had to like choose my gamer definition wisely because I didn't want to get roasted because like I don't go super far into it. I play the mainstream stuff, so casual gamer. I could probably go further if I wanted to. But, that being said, though, like Sean said, Sean makes a great point because if you are scoring for, video games out there, that can be very lucrative, by the way, then you need to play these games and you need to understand how the music works with the game itself, right? So, and I'm using video games as a very concrete example because I feel like there's a lot of like overlap between musicians and video games at some point. Usually everybody I talk to actually does game at some point in their life. So yeah, I'm not here to sit here and get clicks on TikTok that are like, you can't enjoy sugar, you can't enjoy life. No, you need to define what is right for you and then make it work for yourself.
Exactly.
100%. I'm not here to tell you what to do and what not to do. That's not the point of this at all.
Like
nor should you listen to me about that, right? Like, who the
Brandon
fuck
is
am
an
I?
expert at self-help.
Yeah. So, just look at me. I'm just a walking embodiment of it. So.
All this to say exactly that this is a pantry. Like every episode we have, and we just stock it with ingredients, but you have to pull out what works for you for the dishes that you want to make and whatever you want to cook, whatever fits your recipe for success. We're just like stocking the pantry every episode. So pick what you need to and move on from that. But to really quick summarize, the importance of this matrix is that it really helps independent artists, independent musicians and bands prioritize their tasks effectively, reevaluate what they are currently doing, and focus on what truly matters for their career success and growth. And That's why we really wanted to cover this, and I'm really excited that we got to talk about
me
this in
too.
today's episode.
Me too.
It's a little bit of a shorter one, but man, is it full of really good details.
It's a very applicable one too. You can go and do this right now. Now. So
I mean, especially since, as I said, there's a link down below where you can download our templates. And whenever I download templates from other people, I always sometimes get confused on, okay, well, what do I put under this category? What exactly am I trying to do? Hopefully this episode helps you think about what you want to fill out. And also, as I mentioned, we have 2 versions, one that's blank, one that is pre-filled out with examples of things that you may want to put under each category and things that maybe you didn't think about, maybe things you did. And just because I put something under not important and not urgent doesn't mean it's not important and urgent for you.
Absolutely.
So I just want to quickly say that, but there's a template to kind of get your brain going.
Yeah, it's definitely an interactive episode for sure. So if you're listening along and you're filling this out,
yeah,
kudos to you. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, that's all I have to add on that one. That's it. I mean, I think we summarized it pretty well. I got to go do this exercise myself, actually. So maybe that's an urgent and important thing I do today.
I'll send you the template.
Thanks, dude.
Boom. So all that being said, thank you for watching today's episode. If you want to contact us, you can message us at email at podcast@musicmakerscookbook.com. That's our email. You can let us know future topics you'd like us to cover moving forward. You can also find us on any social media platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff, YouTube. If you fill out this document, take a picture of it, post it, and tag us in it. We'd love to see what kind of your priorities are.
Hell yeah.
It'd be kind of really cool.
Yeah.
So if you want to do that, that'd be great. We'll like it up, share it, and promote it on our, appreciate it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be really cool.
So that's how you can find us as a group. But Brandon, how can they just find you? And what do you do outside of make podcasts?
I do a lot of mixing, mastering, and recording of myself and production at this point. Man, I'm doing a lot of that recently. And you can find more about that at www.wowrecording.com. You can fill out an inquiry there and reach out to me there, or you can find my email somewhere on there. I'm not going to tell you where it's at, but it's somewhere on there, usually because I like people going through my website. But you can also find me on social media at _Brandon McLeod or at Studio 222 Recording on all social media platforms besides Twitter or X, whatever you call it. John, what about you?
Yeah, if you make folk, rock, or acoustic music and you'd like to have it professionally mixed and mastered, you can go to my website. It's I'm doing it too, swsrecordings.com. You're welcome. We can fill out a form, contact me. We can have a meeting, talk about your music, see if I'm the right engineer, the right fit for your music, and do some remote mixing mastering to make it sound as good as it possibly can. Aside from that, if you want one-on-one business coaching or arts development coaching, which is basically this podcast but specialized for you, it's a really quick and efficient way to help move your forward career, starting where you are at versus having to comb through all of these podcasts. But as I mentioned, all the things that I really do are free in these podcasts. So if that's the route you'll want to take, great. But if you want to accelerate it, then you can contact me. Also fill out a form through my website. And I also have social media accounts. Shocking. I don't post on them a lot for my studio.
I don't either. So.
But hopefully want to do more moving forward. And that's just SWS Recordings anywhere on any platform. So feel free to find that out and subscribe to that. But if you really want to contact me, definitely fill something out through the website. That is the fastest way. I'm not particularly quick at responding to DMs, but I will get to you eventually.
Same here.
Yeah. With that being said, really had a good time recording this podcast with you, Brandon.
No, likewise to you,
This
Sean.
was definitely under the important and urgent category.
I would say so.
Because we don't have any backup episodes, and we need this to come out soon, so...
I know, that sucks, dude. We were definitely urgent and important today.
Yeah, but the next one's going to be important and not urgent.
There you go.
It'll be nice to be back in that category.
Exactly. Yeah, that'll be really nice. That'll be really nice.
With that being said, from our kitchen to yours...
Bon appetit.